such as these, and our intent is to operate transparently by providing an accurate account of what we know transpired at this time in the investigation. I want to first and foremost express my sincere condolences to the family of this little girl. My heart breaks for them as they, along with everyone involved, this tragic incident will continue to be in our thoughts and prayers for sure. This was a family that was driving down the road with two small children in it, and one was 5 and one was 7. Obviously, the 7-year-old has passed away, and the 5-year-old was also severely injured. Monday evening around 7:48 p.m., a deputy with our agency was in the parking lot of Walmart located at 6134 White Horse Road when he observed a black Mercedes dragging something from underneath the car that was making a lot of noise and throwing some sparks. The deputy flagged down the driver, later identified as Aiden Mamadov, and when the driver stopped the deputy to engage him in a conversation, which you'll be able to see, that led him to believe the driver was operating impaired. We are now going to direct your attention to the deputy's body-worn camera first, which shows the interaction with Mr. Mamadov. Due to some language heard, please be advised that we advise you, if anybody's watching this and you've got small children, you may hear some foul language, so just be aware of that. This is the suspect vehicle and the deputy's body camera. He's walking up to the vehicle. The audio will come on in just a second. There's a 30-second delay from the time we turn the body camera on, and it's activated before it starts recording. So we'll try to restart it. It was playing earlier, but see the deputy observes Mr. Mamadov drive through the parking lot. He walks up to him. He's kind of at a standstill here for whatever reason with this other vehicle. So the deputy has called on him. Hey, where you going? What's going on? Those kind of things. Mr. Mamadov now takes off. Again, he's heading toward White Horse Road. The deputy's on foot. He returns back to his vehicle. It takes a little less than a minute for him to walk back to his vehicle, which is parked on the side of Walmart. Can't really see it from here, but he's on the radio. He has advised dispatch that the vehicle has taken off on him and gave a description to other deputies that may be in the area. He'll go back to his car, and then you'll see him. He'll say he is trying to pursue that vehicle or overtake the vehicle, but obviously he waited till the vehicle left the parking lot so he could see which direction he went to advise other units. So this is our deputy. He'll get in his car. We do have some audio. Whatever we release to y'all, I'm sure it'll be on there, but in just a minute you'll see his in-car camera. He does everything he's supposed to do. He'll reach up and activate his in-car camera right here. You'll see him touch that button. He's still in the parking lot. He's advising other units what he's doing. Now he's approaching White Horse Road, and he's turned on the White Horse right here, headed toward Creighton Drive. That's the in-car camera. He's on White Horse. You don't see a suspect vehicle in front of him. He knows he went that direction, but he can't see him from this angle. He's not close enough. He continues down White Horse. He's advising other deputies that he thinks he went in this direction. He's advising the supervisor he's trying to find the vehicle, but still can't see him. And the collision has already occurred, and the deputy will call that in. You see people getting out of their cars, looking. As soon as he kind of goes around traffic, you'll see the victim vehicle in the middle of the road here. The deputy jumps out and begins to render aid. And we stopped that because these children are in the back of the car. The deputy tries to administer first aid and CPR to the 7-year-old. But as you can tell, there were a lot of questions initially about the fact that we may be pursuing this car and we were behind him, and all those things kind of happening. As you can see, that's not the case. The deputy called the information into dispatch before going back to his patrol car. I think that's important for y'all to know. He done that in an attempt to locate the driver. So again, the deputy's driving on West Marion Road. That's where he pulled out of Walmart in that shopping plaza as he approached White Horse. We switched views so you can see the in-car camera footage. So if you got any questions about that, we'll be glad to try to clarify that. Again, the deputy arrived on scene of the collision. He stops and began to take action by calling for assistance. He called for EMS, the fire department, and he also began to render first aid to the victims on the scene. So it's important to note that this collision is being worked by the South Carolina Highway Patrol as requested to investigate this collision, which is standard. We don't work collisions. Now, our internal affairs office here, Office of Professional Standards, certainly looked at this, looked at the body camera footage and the in-car footage and all of those things to make sure we followed policy. But as far as any intricacies of the collision, that'll be done by the Highway Patrol as they reconstruct that. Obviously, there won't be any charges because the suspect is deceased. But as far as the facts of the case from the collision, those will come from the Highway Patrol. So, does anybody have any questions about what you saw? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so just to confirm, I know you said he called for other available units. No other patrol cars were behind the suspect before he got there? Any kind
No.
of...
If you watch the video, and it'll be a little clearer when we do have audio with it, and we listened to it earlier. For whatever reason, it didn't work. But when you see that, I think or hear that, it'll help describe a little bit about what's going on, and you won't see any patrol cars. He's the first one on the scene. There are others that show up afterwards, but we didn't have anybody close enough. It happens really pretty fast if you just watch it.
And Sheriff, you walked us through this deputy's, movements, actions. Can you explain, what all goes into decision making and how they navigate through this process? You said it all happened extremely fast.
It did, and again, he was out at a Walmart shopping center, not looking for anything like this to happen. So, before this is the first recording you'll see, but before this, he observed this driver in the parking lot and looked like he was kind of driving erratically. And this vehicle, everybody stopped. So this vehicle was making a turn in the shopping plaza, and this one's kind of on the wrong side of that. So they're kind of at a standoff, like nobody knows who's going to go first. So obviously the deputy shouting at him, telling him, hey, hang on, hold on just a second, let me talk to you, because he's not in his vehicle where he could have initiated a stop at some point. But so he walks up to him. He knows something's going on, so he goes up to him to investigate it. He begins to talk to him. He said he knew that his speech was slurred. He kind of had that 1,000-yard stare. His eyes were glassed over. He knew something was wrong, and the chances of him being impaired were probably pretty good. So he was going to get him out of the car, and you can't really hear that yet. We got the sound. We'll be glad to play it for you again in just a minute. But he tells him, hey, put the car in park, turn it off, and step out. He can get him out and prevent any of this stuff from happening had this guy complied, but he doesn't. As soon as he realizes this deputy's going to get him out of the car, he accelerates through the parking lot, and you can hear it, you can see it. It'll be a lot more clear. Would y'all like to watch it now? You got the sound working?
Yes, I do.
We'll go back through it.
Your exhaust pipe's falling off. No, don't fucking go anywhere. Put it back in park. Put the car in park. Stop. I have a subject doing stolen one for me and a Mercedes sedan with the muffler falling off, 6134 White Horse Road. No. He ran the red light. I believe he's 1059. I tried to stop him on foot in the parking lot.
So the suspect ran the red light, leaving the parking lot, turning right on White Horse. So he's going to go back to his car, and this is when he'll try to catch up to him.
Negative. He's dragging his muffler. I'm going to try and overtake.
Echo 58, can you get on your 1020 on White Horse Road?
Driver 6134 White Horse Road. I'm going to try and catch up to him. 1059, I believe.
Echo 58, Charlie 3.
Thou therefore and thy sons and thy servants shall till the land for him. He has a farm and he's got people to farm it for. And thou shalt bring in the fruits of thy master's son. When Mephibosheth thy master's son shall eat bread always at my table.
Any other questions?
Sheriff, what about the toxicology report for the suspect? When can we expect to know the results of that?
We don't know when that'll come back. That'll be up to the coroner's office. They'll get that and release it. But if there were charges, if the suspect was alive, obviously they would probably try to put a rush on it. But there's no charges coming. The suspect's deceased. But they'll still do that. The hospital took that. That'll be tested, and when it comes back, we'll certainly get it. The coroner's office will get it first, but we'll certainly get a copy of it.
Did this man have a known criminal history, to your guys' knowledge?
Not that I know of. No. Did he?
Nothing in our system.
And so did the suspect, was he going down White Horse Road the same direction as the deputy, crossed over the center line and then landed back on that correct side?
Yes. That's what you see is, we never see the car on White Horse Road. There was some, I guess, conversation about the deputy being behind him and chasing him where we would have known exactly where he went and the path he would have took. But that's why we're here today, to clarify that we were not in pursuit of him. We were looking for him, but it was not an actual pursuit. So, but it does appear that way, that he hit the car head on, so he hit it from the other side of the road.
And based on all the given circumstances here, you know, I know, like you just said, there was the discussion, was this a chase? Was this a full-out pursuit? Under these circumstances, was there anything else that this deputy could have done to prevent this crash?
No. I mean, he's on foot. He can't stop him. Obviously, if we thought it was a situation where he was a danger to the public, had we known that and you're in a car, sometimes you can try to block people and do some of that stuff. But you see, he tried to open the door. The car was in drive. He, probably could have put his hands on him and pulled him out, but the guy drives off. So I think the deputy acted appropriately and very professional for sure, and really done a good job. He kept himself safe, kept other people safe that were walking through the parking lot. Just a terrible situation and unfolded later.
Sheriff, do you have an update on the condition of the victim still in the hospital?
I don't, not this morning. I know they were injured, for sure. The whole, the driver, obviously one kid passed away, and the 5-year-old was still in the hospital. But I hadn't heard anything this morning.
Do you know their relationship? We're hearing that the driver was possibly a grandmother.
I thought it was parent-child, but I may be misspeaking. That's what I heard first. But is anybody
He's a grandparent.
grandmother?
Parent was a grandmother with her grandchild, and they had a sleepover for him.
Gotcha. There you go. We don't believe they were restrained, but that'll be up to the Highway Patrol to investigate that. So,
Did you guys find anything in the vehicle that would indicate that you might have had some sort of impairment? You know, you said you couldn't do a toxicology, but was there
as
anything?
far as drugs or alcohol,
Maybe that's why he was running. So,
we didn't go through that. That's up to the Highway Patrol because that is a traffic collision. So we just secured the scene and render aid. At that point, it comes to them to work that, and I know they're working very diligently on that. But I don't know what they found. Any other questions?
I think, again, one more question. Can you just speak to, what goes through the heads of your deputies or yourself when you have to make these split-second decisions?
Well, I think the most important thing for people to understand is you don't know what's going to happen. You just got an excellent example of a deputy walking across the parking lot. He sees something, and he feels like there's a safety issue of some kind or something going on, so he just approaches the car and tries to talk to the guy, find out what might be going on. The guy's on his phone, stopped in the middle of a drive lane in the parking lot. So the deputy tries to investigate that. Then he probably thinks that, it looks like this guy's going to be impaired. Hey, go ahead and step out of the car and let's continue to investigate it. All of a sudden the guy takes off. Most people probably would have ran right back to their car and jumped in it and went tearing through the parking lot after him. However, he obviously felt like it was more important to watch, call other people, and at least know which direction he's going. It's a very large parking lot. It's a long way from where he was standing to White Horse Road. So you can see him standing there and he's on the radio saying, hey, he's going right on White Horse Road or he's heading this direction. And let other people try to intercept that because he knows he's at a disadvantage now because he's, a minute away. I think it was 50 some odd seconds from the time he took off to the time he got to his car. So he goes out, gets on White Horse Road. He knows he turned right. He's obviously looking up Saluda Dam Road to see if he could have turned up there. Where did this guy go? Did he hit somebody? Did he run into a telephone pole or whatever? I mean, there's a lot of adrenaline pumping, a lot of things happening. Tunnel vision starts to take over. It's obvious this deputy, he stayed calm and kept himself together and continued to give information out for other units to try to intercept this guy. Then he runs up on the collision. When he gets to the collision again, he gets out, he starts to render aid. You can see both children in the car. Very, very traumatic thing to watch for sure, but he continues to do his job until EMS gets there and some fire department got there and took over for him, and then he becomes again working on the crime scene part of it with the Highway Patrol. A lot of moving parts.
Sheriff, does this speak to the training these deputies get? Do you look at this video and go, this is exactly what any deputy is supposed to do in this situation through the completion of the event?
Sure. I mean, you always, we know we do a good job of training folks. We certainly put a lot of time into training people and a lot of money, for sure, a lot of resources. But you have to look at the individual, too. You can give somebody all the things they need, but when it's crunch time and things happen, that's when you find out how people respond. And I think it speaks volumes to the credibility of the people we have here, that they're professional. He didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't know how this was going to end. But again, he remained calm. He did his job. I don't want to say it's routine because nothing is ever routine. But as far as the way he conducted himself was certainly the way he's trained to conduct himself, whether we're doing pursuit training at the range or high-stress shooting or defensive tactics or whatever. When all those small muscles begin to freeze up when something happens and you kind of go into lockdown mode, that's what takes over, what you've been trained to do, what you really know. And you start using those large muscles, and that's what happened here. So.
Sheriff, do you know what the weird audio was at the end? It sounded like a sermon almost, like a preach.
It is not a sermon, but it's I don't know if he was listening to I don't want to say a CD, that just tells you how old I am, but something on his phone plugged into the car or whatever, but I think it's Andy Rooney. Is it?
Sounds like an audio book or something.
Yeah, it's he's either talking about America back in the day, but you can look it up. It's pretty popular. I think it's Andy Rooney talking about it. He's kind of narrating that. of what America is. So it may be a podcast or something, but I don't know much about podcasts.
Sheriff, can you, if it might be too lengthy, but kind of lay out what your chase policy is, kind of when you would know to initiate a chase?
Well, again, you got to look at the charges. And one thing, you know, if this is a murder suspect, obviously the public expects us to pursue them. However, with a impaired driver, you can see they put a lot of people's lives at risk, as well as the deputies that are trying to make contact with them. So we do allow our deputies, if they feel safe, to engage in a pursuit to try to stop that car. It would not be uncommon for us to get behind that car and spin him out with no traffic around at Whitehorse or Saluda Dam Road, disable his vehicle, take him into custody, and nobody hurt. That's an ideal situation. Or that he stopped, but that's not what happened. So we leave it to the deputies to make that decision. They're the ones there. A lot of factors come into play. Time of day, traffic patterns. Are there any pedestrians around? What offense are they trying to stop this person for? And the biggest part of that is the supervisor can stop it at any time. A sergeant that may be hearing it working and know that deputy may be new, or may hear his voice really go into kind of a high-pitched state, and know that, hey, he may be getting a little tense here. Let's just go ahead and call it off. Give a description out to everybody if they see it. So there's a lot of factors involved in a pursuit. We'll be glad to give you all a copy of our general order that covers that. But as far as the real time on the street feel, it's really up to each individual deputy to know, how do I feel? You know, are you too overzealous? You know, are you going to do something to get somebody hurt? Or are you getting too close to the vehicle? There's a ton of factors involved.
Just a quick point of clarification. I know upon the troopers' initial notice that night, they believed that the two children in the car were not restrained. When we got the coroner's report yesterday, they said that the 3 victims were restrained. Should we go with the coroner report? Or?
They told me unrestrained initially. I was certainly, the Highway Patrol is working that, and they're going to turn in a collision report, and they're pretty accurate when it comes down to pulling seatbelts out and looking at stress marks and those things that are made when somebody applies the brakes or the direction of a vehicle changes, or, you know, any of those things happen. And I'm not trying to put one against the other. I think you have to look at both of them, and y'all can make that determination. But I think they'll probably get together and clarify that. There was certainly a lot going on at the time. So.
Sheriff, this is the second deadly collision or drunk driving collision involving the death of a child in the last week. Can you kind of speak on this issue a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, drunk driving kills people all over the nation, not counting property damage. I mean, look at your insurance premiums, and all those things go up because of these things. I don't think there's anything more serious right now than gun violence and driving under influence. Look at traffic collisions kill more people just in general without alcohol. When you add alcohol and drugs into it, I mean, it only magnifies it. They're trying to legalize marijuana all across the country. And when we talk about an impaired driver, we just talk about alcohol. I think legalizing marijuana in South Carolina would be the biggest mistake we've ever made, personally and professionally. So I'm completely against it. But you look at the chances people take when they drink alcohol, drink too much, and they get in a car when you have so many resources available. Call a friend to come pick you up, call an Uber, call a Lyft. I mean, you got a number of things you can do other than drive and put other people at risk, you know, not just yourself, but so many families. Greenville's a busy place. There's not 1 minute of the day that there's not a ton of traffic in Greenville. So it's certainly, I mean, it's certainly not worth it. But, you know, we have a traffic division that does heavy enforcement on DUIs. We do a great job. We have great people. But again, there's a lot more of them out here driving impaired than we can stop. So you try to do your best to get the public and let them know, and young people especially, you know, this is not a good decision. This is life-changing.
Right. And it seems like we're reporting a lot on collisions on Whitehorse Road. Is this like a problem area for you guys?
I don't think so. We don't work collisions. That would be a question for the Highway Patrol. Greenville's one of the busiest counties in the state when you talk about traffic collisions. So I certainly would not put Whitehorse Road above Pelham Road or 85. I mean, Wade Hampton. We have a lot of collisions in Greenville County. So I I don't know that it's at the top of the list. It'd certainly be in the top 10, I guess, because it's a long stretch of road too.
Sheriff, one last question. Any last words for Aaliyah's family at all who were just innocently driving on this road and hit this crash?
You know, three people driving down the road, obviously their grandmother's trying to take them home or take them somewhere, return a friend home, whatever the case may be. Had no idea their lives are going to change forever. This little girl's life's going to be taken. I think when you talk about life and death, I believe God's in control of that. We're certainly praying for them. I got no idea what they're experiencing personally. I can only tell you what I've seen in my career. And I personally believe you got to have the Lord to help you get through those things. And I just pray that the grandmother has that, and pray for that comfort for her. There's not one thing they could have done to prevent that. That was all on the driver who chose to get in the car impaired and make just a horrific decision that would affect the public in Greenville County for a long time to come. So we're praying for them. Anything else?
Sheriff, can you reiterate one more time?
Meeting on.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.